Welcome back to Studio 5. Have you ever looked at your child, a person you created and raised, and wondered, how is he my kid? Different personalities, different strengths, different interests. It can be a challenge to parent someone who is so different than you. My next guest says understanding the ABCs of character development, though, will help in that parenting process. Dr. Matt Townsend is a Studio 5 contributor and relationship coach with more than 20 years experience. Do you have kids that are very different than you?
You know what? It makes you wonder. If they're
you
even
wonder
mine.
what? Okay.
Yeah, you watch them like playing football and you think...
Remember, this is Studio 5, not Dr. Phil.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Because I have a confession to make.
So you watch them play football.
You watch them playing football and you're like, are you going to play? Or are you just going to out there talking? You're just talking to everybody out there. But so I wonder, hit the guy.
Yeah.
But mine won't. Mine's really sensitive.
Okay.
So does a sensitive kid play football? You never hear of sensitive football players, but sensitive is a really important thing. So we're going to talk about how you get from an activity like football, but still find their sensitivity or whatever they've got.
Right.
And then how you utilize the strength.
So these ABCs of character development, what does that mean exactly?
A are activities. Every one of us are in activities. We are all pushing our children to do activities,
like
right?
Football.
Football, you want them in track, you want them in choir, you want them in music. We do all of these things and we think the activity will round them out and make them incredible.
What's the B?
The B is behaviors. Once they're in the class, do they listen? Do they sing? Do they do their homework? Do they talk to their parents? Do they talk to the leaders? We send them to church thinking that church will convert them to be good people. But then when they're at church, they just sit there and they rock their chairs and they fight it and they try to sneak out. So those are the behaviors.
Okay.
So every activity, that's the A, the B are the behaviors.
Yes.
But underneath all of it are the C's, character strengths. Do they love to learn? Are they curious? Are they self-starters? Are they ambitious? What are the things that are uniquely special about your child and their character that is going to make them or break them? And it's not the activity that'll do it. It's basically figuring out what the C's are.
This might be a question that will make you feel terrible as a parent, but what if you really don't know? What if you look at your kid and think, okay, I know you have this strength, I know this maybe isn't your strength, but how do you really identify those character strengths that will guide them?
You got to get out and start focusing on the C's, believe it or not the A's and the B's. We put all of our energy getting them to whatever activity, and then all of our energy to correct the dumb things they're doing at the activity. But what if we could just figure out the C's, like what makes them strong, what makes them tick? For example, all of a sudden I'm watching one of my sons that is a musician. You'd think he would just do it naturally. But what he is he's actually maybe more creative than he is a performer. So he'd rather spend the time creating than being in the activity of performing. And every time we get him a performance, he's not so excited. And he behaves in a way that we're like, come on, dude. And he doesn't want to go and he hesitates. So we started to dawn on us that he really likes creating, he likes developing, he likes editing. He still will perform and likes it.
Sure.
But in the end, what if we could actually focus more on his creativity and have him be a producer, an executive kind of producer or something that helps people make their music instead of just simply performing.
So you say don't focus on the A's and the B's, but don't we discover a lot of the C's through things like football or piano?
If we're looking for them.
Okay.
But most of the time, we're sitting there trying to run the check in to the school to pay for whatever activity.
Yeah.
And we think the activity itself creates the character strength. And what I'm saying is it doesn't. When you focus on character strength, you can find it everywhere your kid goes. In every activity they do, you can start to find their strengths. And then I suggest go start identifying what their strengths are and write them down. If I see that my son's creative, I'm going to write down creativity. I'm going to remember with that boy, he needs creativity. I have other kids that are super disciplined. They'll just do their homework. My wife is super disciplined. She's most frustrated with our kids that aren't disciplined. I don't even know where they get it. But apparently, I'm not very disciplined.
You?
I found that out.
What?
But you know what? I'm creative. So I'll make it up on the fly. I don't need to know what I'm going to say a minute before. I'll find out when I say it.
And look how beautifully it works out.
But see how the cool thing is I know what my C's are in my life, and then it makes it so I can take my bucket of C's and take them to any activity, and it'll start to monitor my behavior.
Well, I mentioned maybe not knowing exactly what, not just your kids' strengths are, but even your own strengths are. You have a great assessment people can take.
You got to go online, and it's called the VIA assessment. It's at Penn State University. If you just go look up VIA, Martin Seligman, right there, viacharacter.org. Martin Seligman is the researcher behind it. You go in and you take about a 280 question test. Your kids can take one too, and by the time you're done, you'll have 1 to 25, your character strengths all lined up. What's your number 1, what's your number 2? And I didn't take this till later in my life, till my 70s, and guess what?
Yeah.
I found out my entire job, everything I do is basically my top 5 things.
Isn't that awesome?
And I just kind of did it intuitively.
Yeah.
What if we could get our kids doing the same thing, figuring out
at a
their
younger
strengths?
age, knowing. You mentioned this assessment at your date night a couple weeks ago.
it's
Mark
so
and I
powerful.
were there.
Did you go do it?
Well, Mark thought it would be fun to do it on the way home.
Oh, yeah.
But that he was driving, so that was me asking him the 200 and how many?
Yeah, like 80
questions. It was a really fun ride
Well,
home.
see, that's actually a way to start a fight. You don't. You really ought to do it yourself.
No,
Tell
it
Mark
actually
that.
was really interesting. But it popped up his 5 of his strengths. And again, I had that same thought. If you would have been able to identify these younger, I mean, his were pretty in line with what he's doing too, but how powerful for a teenager to have those on paper.
And how powerful for a mother to not have to be frustrated by the teenager that's trying to that plays a lot of video games.
Yeah.
Because we can correct behaviors that we don't like by knowing what our strengths are. The child that loves video games may not just be a lazy bum. He may actually just be creative, adventurous, kind of wanting some spontaneity in his life, and the video game provides those things. So what you might want to do, instead of just assuming they're bad, start to see why they like video games. Ask them why they like video games, and they'll discern, and they'll start to tell you why, and the strengths will emerge. Then start putting them in those kind of activities. That's the kid that should be climbing a wall. That's the kid that should be going out and finding some other adventure or learning to write code to make their own video games, stuff like that.
So we're not putting as much attention on the A's, the activities. We're really focusing on the C's, trying to draw those out.
Right.
Where do the B's come into play, the behaviors?
The B's are actually kind of the best way to know what's going on, because the B's are how we're acting.
Yeah.
We have to understand what's going on with their activity. The B's are where parents spend most of their time correcting. No. You have to listen to your coach. Listen to your coach. I'm not having you go to sports to not listen to the coach. But in reality, what we might want to figure out is, hey, son, why is it so hard for you to listen to the coach? Well, man, I've got all of these friends. So he might be so social, and his character focus might be more social than it is athletic or sports.
This is good stuff.
And all of a sudden, once you know that, I don't need to worry that my son's a failure.
Yeah.
Because he can't play he's not musical or whatever the activity is of behavior.
It's more about focusing on who they are and drawing out those.
And the cool thing is, once they have that bucket of character strengths, they take it anywhere they want. That'll go with them. By the way, they may never play tuba in the band again after high school, but they will have their character strengths forever.
Awesome, Matt. Awesome,
Huge.
awesome. Thank you. I mentioned your
Brooklyn.
date night. You have kind of a condensed version of that.
This is kind of, we're going to teach people how to actually go talk and create peace in their relationships. It's December 6th. Go to Peace with Dr. Matt. It's a workshop from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And all we're going to do is teach them communication skills, how to create peace in your most important relationships. So go to peacewithdrmatt.com, sign up. It's the bomb. It'll actually,
I believe it.
It'll help your Christmas.
I like that.
It'll get rid of the pain and the tension.
Happy holidays. That's what we want.
Thanks. That's right. Thanks,
Matt.
Brooklyn.
All right, we've got